Hey, hi, I'm Tony, and welcome to my shop. Today we have some Russian olive. I picked this up at the Inland Northwest Woodturners club meeting during the raffle, and it was a pretty long log. I sawed it into four pieces. I have another piece that I've tried to cut on it, and it ended up having some ring shake in the middle where the rings are actually separating. I reached out to a couple of turners that I really respect, Roper at Adventures in Life with Roper, a great turner out of Colorado, and he's turned a lot of Russian olive, and he said that it does get the ring shake. Tony Peeps Woodworking kind of looked through it and said, hey, as long as you get past that one spot, you'll probably be okay. So I did turn that one, got in there, and right as I was turning the corner, it started catching quite a bit, and the rings were popping apart. So I pulled it out, filled it full of CA, and I'm waiting to see if we can return that. So instead of trying to do a big hollow form, I went ahead and sawed the log in half. This is actually house paint someone put on the back to let it dry out. It's super dry, beautiful grain. And we'll see if we can just turn a little bowl out of it and get something pretty. I haven't turned this before except for that one bad experience with the ring shake unit. So stick around, let's see what happens. Okay, we are going to start in on this little piece with a 5/8 inch bowl gouge with an English or an Irish grind on it there. And the wood, from my first experience, it does spin and cut nicely. I have it up on my bigger pulley. We're all the way off speed. Turn the power on, spin it up. Just see where we're going to get. I have it on the bigger pulley right now, or the small pulley. So big pulley. So I can go pretty fast here. I'm going to be spinning this a little over 1,000 RPM to start for the general shaping. So we're in a good spot there. Make sure we get a nice tight fit. All I'm using again is my 4-prong drive center and my live center, 3-bearing live center on the other side. So let's see what kind of shape we have. We have some interesting little burl here. Might make it into the wood. I've had to fill a couple of little cracks with CA. So it's just going to be interesting to see. Here's where the ring shake is. You can see that. And I have some CA in there. If it goes all the way through the log, we're going to be in the same boat we were with the first time I attempted this wood. But let's see what we got. Take a look at how that's cutting. It's a very pretty wood. I love the beauty of that white sapwood in there. Got a little tree branch. That's where the burl was, and there's some pretty stuff there, but we're obviously not close enough to round yet. So I'll just pull in a little bit, give us a spin, make sure we're clear, and let's round up that bottom. See, as you can tell when you're turning, you can hear the changes in pitch and tone as you're clearing the air. And when you start to hit a crack, you can hear those things when you start to learn to listen for them in your wood. So we've gotten through to some nice hard bark here that might be pretty to leave. But we're still on the fuzzy stuff over here, which we definitely don't want in this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up a bit. Here. See what that looks like. Okay, we're into that hard bark on this side. Still have a little of the fuzz here, so I'll pull that down. But first, let's go ahead and just make it easier on ourselves. Get rid of these corners up here. This wood cuts smooth enough, and will give us a better idea what we're dealing with in terms of that ring shape. I really like the way this wood cuts. So that's getting us closer around, but you can see that shake there? This is what destroyed my last piece. It breaks along the ring, and then there's a little crack going down way away from the pith. So it's an interesting thing that I understand is common with this Russian olive. We might be able to turn past it. We'll find out here pretty soon. There's another little crack right in here that I didn't see from the outside of the log. And that knot I already filled shouldn't be bad. Should be a nice little feature. What I'm kind of shooting for is just kind of a small little breakfast bowl here, but something pretty enough to warrant all the pretty wood here. good pass. I can still feel the softer bark here. And we kind of want to match the way those two look. That crack's going to probably end up being an issue. I can feel it's a little rough, and this all here cuts differently. What Mr. Roper told me was that he loves to sandblast this and pull this grain out, and ends it with a really neat texture. I have a very cheap Harbor Freight little portable sandblaster I use for like pulling rust off of car parts and things. I might give that a shot. Maybe that'll be an interesting little tidbit, but I'm not sure yet if we want to go that route. Let's go ahead and get her round first. We'll throw a little CA in a few of the cracks that are left once we get our final shape, and then we'll keep moving from there. Let me go ahead and leave a little rim up there for some stability and maybe even a nice deep decorative detail. Okay, I got a nice pass. Still, this won't be a perfect sand, so I'm going to come in a little lower on that. Maybe change the depth of the bowl a bit. Let me do that first, and then we'll find out what we need to put some CA in. I'm going to go downhill. See how that cut. See, it does take a little more of the material between the hardwood and the rings. It softens that up quite a bit, so I can see why people like to sandblast this. That can end up with a neat texture. We smooth that out nice. Have one thing there I don't like, and I'm leaving a little meat here for a foot. I'll use a little shear cut just to blend those two little lines, transitions. I like the hero cut when you can go all the way up with one pass, but sometimes the angle of your foot and the shape you want doesn't allow for it. You can hear the high and low spots on the grain. Still have one line here that I don't care for. We'll blend that out, but what do we got? Okay, we got some clean. This will still leave a nice interest for us. We have enough material here to create a nice foot when we flip it over. So I think after, I'm going to go ahead and blend that one spot here so we get a nice smooth round, and then we'll put some CA on there. I'll raise my tool rest a little bit for the shear cut and come to the other side of the bowl so I can pull it across, just giving it a little bit of a little haircut here. I just want to blend that little transition in there. But you can hear the wood dancing on that. Still a line, but the transition's blended out when you run your finger over it. There's no hump. So let's get out some CA and put a little in these cracks and see if that's going to make a difference. This is smooth. That'll end up actually, I think, looking really pretty once we sand that up. And we'll get a little CA up in that as well. You guys see anything else I'm missing here? All right, I think that we'll hit that first. And let me try to blow off the poor camera. This is dusty stuff, boy. I haven't turned some dry wood in so long, I forgot what it's like. So I'm going to use the Star Bond medium thin. This is the go-to in the shop for just about everything. I could put some actual thin in here. It's soaked further down, but it doesn't actually seem to fill as good as using the medium. So I just kind of stick with the medium. And I could have used a darker color maybe, but I want this just to be filled and not super obvious. I'm also gonna a little accelerator. See if that can hold up there. Yep. And then we'll fill that little crack we saw up here. And the knot, more stabilizing it, and also give it a nice smooth fill. I don't want to feel that crack in the finished thing. If you see a crack and you can't feel it, it doesn't have the same impact. At least when I watch people pick stuff up at my booth and stuff, they seem to look at cracks and run their fingers over them. So if you can't feel it, it feels like it's really been taken care of and addressed well. And I'm just going to stabilize a little top part of this bark. Maybe no need to do this, but I want to make sure that stays in, even though the wood's nice and dry. This looks pretty good up there. And I can see that we're not fully proud. Some of that did sink in nice into the crack. And I don't know if it's stabilizing it or if this is just going to be cosmetic, because this is the same ring shake in the same log that kind of ruined the other project for me. I might still be able to go back and salvage that, but I kind of gave up after I got there. It was catching real bad, and I didn't want to spend an hour trying to hand sand into the bottom of a 6-inch deep piece. I even covered it in shellac a couple times just to see if I could fill in the grain and then smooth it out, if it'd stabilize it, and it really wasn't participating. Was not participating in my overall program. So let's see here, we're nice and dry. Let's go ahead and stick a few light passes on that with the bowl gouge. Still have a nice sharp edge here. I'll just come in real light, real gentle. We're up a little high and start to move a little bit. Feel it. And get a nice little bite. Drop the handle. So I can start getting those little shavings. There we go. Barely riding the bevel here. I'm almost floating it. Just taking a super light pass. Going slow, letting the tool do all the work. Slowly shift your body weight over. Don't try to force that with shoulders and hips, you know, I mean shoulders and wrists and stuff. You want to use your hips on that if you can. So we get a nice fill there. And a nice fill there. So it didn't really stain the edge or anything. So I think that'll be okay. I'm going to tighten up this foot just a little bit, even though we can do it when we flip it around. I think it'll be better to get it in here now. And then we'll get to sanding, which of course I'll speed through that. I know that everyone wants ludicrous speed on sanding. So I got a smaller bowl gouge. I'm going to kind of just cove this a little bit. Just by rotating my body around in an arc up to the spot where I want the foot in. Okay. And then we'll get out Senor Pointy Gouge and put us a nice dovetail on this. Get that right up to the edge here, and I rotate around to make sure I have a nice, safe, flat spot right there for the jaws to land. This bark will hold fine. We've got nice, tight, deep here for a tenon, and I'm going to go ahead and peel off the rest of this stringy, hairy bark using the same technique here. I'm going to hit that slide angle and just rotate my hips around. I'll get out my tenon gauge real quick. A little 3D printed gauge for the hurricane chucks for the smallest size to make sure it fits in there. And we're just a little bit larger than perfectly tight, but we're going to get rid of this tenon anyway, so that tells us that we're in spec. Now I'll go ahead and pull down and sand her up, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to do the inside. Okay, we have it sanded down just to 400. It's nothing radical there. So hopefully you enjoyed the speed up on that one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of detail lines in it. I feel like it's just kind of plain down here. And I think a little detail line with a burn down around the base might add some interest to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with a little point tool. So this is a shop-made point tool. You can learn how to make these from Mike Peace. He's got a great video on it. And all you do is you come in, find where you want your line to be, make contact, and then slowly raise the handle. think we have a deep enough over here that we can get away with doing a little burn line in that bead. So I'm going to grab a piano wire, kind of the garrote style here, little piano wire, put it across the top and just kind of see how this stuff burns. Takes a nice line. Got one more here I want to put in. Oh, it does not smell good when it burns. Whew, that's stanky. All right, and after that, remove my tool rest again, and I'm just going to take some 320 and just kind of sand around the top of that burn area, and then we'll hit with a little 400 again. Just kind of not have that color jumping out at me. I have a little ratty piece of 400 here that I'll come in and just kind of clean up that edges there. Okay, so after that, my next step is generally roll off any excess sandpaper, any sawdust in there. And then we're going to get out some grit. So for this, I'll use our standard shop-made grit. This is our, this has got, I think it's called 2F pumice mineral oil beeswax is all I have in this. And it's time for me to make another batch. And what I do is I'll apply that about 1,000 RPM slowly. Just gonna get it in all the spots there. Kind of just melt it in, and now what we're doing is we're just using it as an abrasive to get out all of the fine scratches left by the 400 grit sandpaper. Go ahead and do this outside edge here too. It also gives it a nice little shine, but you're really just polishing wood and sanding it. So after I've applied it all the way across at a pretty decent speed, I'm at about 1,500 RPM right now, believe it or not. I'll just come across with the towel, kind of work it in. Circular motions. You can kind of feel how it's reacting to it. And then I'll find a clean spot on the towel, if there is one left on this one. And just kind of work it through and wipe it off and make sure we don't get anything left on the towel after our last pass. And then we can throw some of our shop shine on there. Kind of gives you an idea what that'll look like. And it is still cold enough here in the mid-spring to have my heater kicking on. Isn't that nice? It brings out a nice glow. And again, that's just the last of our abrasive steps. I don't like how this looks up here, so I'm gonna have to either, we can cut a line in and burn a line under there to match the one on the bottom, giving us 3. 3 is always better than 2. I don't know if I can, we'll see if I can get a nice groove in there. I also might just give up on the rim altogether because there's some, I have to resand that anyway, but let's see. Same technique here. Just gonna bring it in, find where I want my line to be, and then lift the handle. I'm kind of checking this from the edge on the horizon. Can't really get any deeper than that. So what I'm going to do is grab a parting tool. It's a very thin parting tool, Robert Sorby. And I'll come in from the edge here gently and put our groove in. Now with that groove in there, it should make a nice easy burn line. And we can sand up to the edge. We'll see how that works. Not sure if that's going to be the perfect solution or not, but I'm just looking for ways to kind of cover up some of the defect up in here and provide some additional contrasting interest. I mean, this wood, this grain does it kind of on its own, doesn't it? It's awful pretty. Get into that groove if we can. I'll let a little smoke build up. There we go. And again, this wood does not smell good. Whew, stinky. Yeah, see that? Going to give us a nice contrast. Now when we come in there with the shine around the edges, it'll clean right up. We'll flatten this rim down when we flip it over, and we'll resand that, I'm sure. let's go ahead and get the shine out. And I talk about this probably too much. And if I do, just let me know in the comments. Stop talking about the shop shine. But it's mineral oil, beeswax, carnauba, and lemon essence. And I really like the way it soaks into the wood. Gives me a really, really nice shine that's easy to maintain for customers. A lot of times I'll take a little tin of this with me whenever I'm doing a little craft fair or an art show or something. And from there I can easily touch up anything that got scratched or got a bad fingerprint or something. So I just dust it really nicely and then rub some of this in and buff it off the towel. Right now though, I've got the speed up around 1500 RPM, just kind of melting it in. And then I will grab a clean portion of the towel again, just like before, and just kind of work it across the surface, making sure that none of the material is coming off. It'll soak right in, not soak, kind of melt into the pores. And when we're done, we'll have a beautiful shine that looks like you almost sprayed it with lacquer or something. Isn't that pretty? That's just a gorgeous one. Now this crack's filled all the way. It's nice and smooth, but it's clearly a defect. Crack here, it's nice and smooth, clearly a defect. The knot, also though clearly a defect. So it's a matter of if you love the look and the tone and the odd chatoyancy of how this wood changes from this beautiful tawny to an amber to a deep, deep brown as you go around with the light on it. So I might flip the other light on for you if it gives it a little different effect or not. I'll have to take a look and see if that really kind of lets the chatoyancy part of it go. But you can see the value if you're going to go through and sandblast out the softer wood between. That could be kind of cool. But I'm a little afraid with these cracks that might not be an attractive finish. So with that, I'm pretty happy with that overall look and shape. Little breakfast bowl. So now we'll flip around, put it in the chuck, and hollow it out. So earlier I did a little top 10 video on chucks. I thought it'd be clever and kind of give people an idea of how I rated them. I got a lot of feedback, and not all of it was good. My first top 10 video was about top 10 wood turning lathes, and that one was a little better received. But boy, people are really passionate about the chucks they use. So I heard that from our friends over in the UK especially, how much they love their Axe Minister chucks. And I know that a couple places here in the States carry them, but they're not very common. I still haven't had a chance to use one. But this is the Hurricane HTC 125. So it's a 5-inch chuck. Really good value for the money. Not as big as jaw selection as I'd like, as you could get with the Novas and stuff. And I do have a Nova, but I have a little G3. I've always wanted to get the bigger one. We'll see what happens with their bankruptcy if that's still going to be an option for us U.S. turners. But it sounded to me like Technitool might have been involved, looking at how the jaws seem to be interchangeable with the Axe Minister stuff. But I guess it's all made out of stainless steel, and that seems pretty darn cool. So I have the power or the speed all the way down, power on, slowly spin it up just to see if we get a nice spin there. We look pretty good. I'll go into this at about 900 RPM. First step always, guys, you know this, is just flatten off that rim. Let me put my face mask on. Come in from the angle, get a nice secure anchor here, and just kind of come in with the tip of the bevel. And you can hear when the tone changes. See, we're making contact all the way across. There it is, out around. Making contact. And I'm going to come in now. Kind of lift into the wood, hear what it's doing. Doesn't mind being cut down. It doesn't seem to care as much. I'll go ahead and just flatten this up. A little pull cut towards myself. I'm using my body weight, not my hips. So we should have some area here we can get an idea how it's going to cut. feels pretty good. I think I'm going to move the camera, though, to the other side here so you guys have a better view. So I got you guys flipped around. You should be able to see a little bit better from that angle. And you can see we have that knot up here. We're going to, here and there, I'm going to try to keep a little of this chocolate flavor here in the, up in this little rim we're leaving, little chocolate there. And then the rest of it now, you'll watch how it's cutting. It's cutting intermittently. I'm not getting a nice long smooth ribbon. So if I come in with a nice bevel angle here, just touch it in and bring it in. You can see these nice little curls here, but they're very short. It's breaking off every time it makes a pass around from end grain to side grain. And it does seem to get a little catchy. I can feel the kind of the shakes there in the bowl itself, but you get an idea how that's going to cut. It's not too bad. I think the tenon's nice and tight, so I could probably pull that tailstock away, but I'm going to go ahead and work down a little bit more material before I do that, just because I can. Might as well keep the safety, my safety net there if I can. It really feels catchy. Just how dry. I mean, this is completely dry. Get a lot of curls and then breaks. So it's an interesting wood to turn for sure. And it's very dry, which also is different than turning green wood, which is probably about 60% of my turning is going to be with green wood. Do a lot of twice turn stuff, but not a lot of kiln dried. So it's all going to be air dried wood. So I went in and took the tailstock live center out so that I don't poke myself on that little pokey thing, because I have moved my elbow back into that more than once, and I should know better. I think Kurt here calls it the vaccinator, and I do not care to be vaccinated today of my own hand. So let's get our tool rest in a good spot. Make sure we're close to center here, a little high, and I'll start hollowing out. So hopefully from this camera angle, I'm going to come around, start my cut, and just start working my way to the bottom and swooping passes. And then we'll clean out that center mass again. Let's see how that's taking a cut. That's a pretty nice cut. Still getting some little tool lines there. I haven't done anything yet to try to tighten up this rim. But as we make our passes, I'm going to probably leave this at least 1/4 of an inch. It'll be a kind of utility-ish bowl. I don't really see a reason to go any thinner than that. Although we might get down to it and say, I don't like it, let's make it unique by making it thin. I've done that more than once. I've also left a few bowls on the cutting room floor. At a certain point, when it just didn't turn out the way I wanted. So it either becomes a shop holder for all of my little bits, or we burn it in my annual burning of the rejects. You guys have your favorite thing to do with the bowls that don't turn out? You got like a reject fire, or you just have a whole shop with nuts and screws and bolts and bowls that didn't quite make the cut? A little high again. Further we go in. Just got to change that angle to keep me safe. Let me know in the comments if you guys what you guys do with the bowls that don't quite make it. If you have a cool little ceremony or some sort of tradition you do with it. It's, spring usually is when I take all the ones from winter and take them out to the fire pit in the backyard and get a nice fire going and just watch them burn. Half the time I'll get a decent little video out of it. Other times I just sit back with my favorite beverage and my wife and just go, well, at least we got BTUs out of it. If you can't be a bull, you can be good BTUs. And in the world I'm from, most of these bowls were destined for BTUs anyway. I'm getting wood from arborists, from guys who, we're going to have to pay to haul it to the dump, and instead I pay them to dump it in my backyard. So it's a win-win for everybody. Be a nice, patient, slow, just twisting my body, not using my wrists. You can get right into there. Takes a nice little cut. Let's see if that's getting any tear out in the spots. See, I don't have any tear out there at all. We don't have great tool lines either, but I'm not I really should be taking finishing cuts, and I'm being a little lazy here, kind of chatting instead of paying attention. I'm going to go ahead and now keep thinning this wall down here. See if we can get a good entry cut here. You really want to stay on your bevel. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and thin this out in the middle here. Just kind of listen to the wood, but you can see on the surface here, we got tear out up here on the long grain. We're coming around on this edge where the end grain is right here. It's wanting to tear as we come out to the edge. But this edge is nice and smooth. But again, these aren't finishing cuts, but we still want to kind of just pay attention to what is the wood going to do when you're ready for your finishing cut. And you get a nice bevel ride in there. I think a lot of tool lines there. But we are cleaning up that end grain nice, so that should sand out pretty good. Got a nice uniform wall thickness down to where the main curve of the bowl starts. But I can feel it grabbing and grabbing and grabbing a little bit more further down we go. So I'm going to try to take advantage of getting closer in without hitting my bowl. Let's give us a little spin, make sure we're clear all the way. I was talking to another turner about how I like to go clear in my head, just to go, okay, so I don't spin something up and destroy your beginning of your project there. I am seeing the glue come through from the other, from the ring shake on that side. And I would say that under normal circumstances, this has not been an easy piece of wood to turn. Very finicky, lots of little, see that? There we go. What just popped off on us there? Got a little blowout right in the middle of that ring shake. See that? Now luckily I had my face mask on. I wonder where that chip went so you could see it. It's a pretty good sized chip. So we just have to be really attentive to what's happening inside this blank. It's not a super stable piece of wood. And you just got to be really careful. I'm going to come across it now this direction. Hear where that hollowness is there? See if we cut past that or not. Yeah, we got past it. Ooh, there's some little dancing silver stuff there. We still have a chip up here where that whole part across that ring shake just came out in the middle once we separate it from the sides. So that's something definitely to be watching for. I'm not sure how this is going to scrape, and I still have another 3/4 of an inch to go, I think, here, before I'll even consider trying it. But maintaining a nice wall thickness. Looks like we're past the main part of where the shake was, so we should end up with a pretty easy run to the bottom now. I'll still take very light passes just to be safe. Although I'm standing way out of the line of fire. I've got a face mask on. I'm opposite this side. If the bowl were to break right now, pieces are going to go this direction. Maybe something will hit the tool rest and bounce a different direction, but it's pretty safe. But again, you should be looking out for. Oops, there's my little magic microphone just dropped off me. So what I was saying is that it's up to you to look after your safety, to do things only you are comfortable with. There's no way that how I'm doing it is always going to work for you. Or you might look at some way I'm doing something, go, well, I got a better way to do it. And I'd love to hear that in the thing. And safety, again, this is how I do it. It's not necessarily the best or the safest way. This is just how I've learned it over the years and what works for me. That sounded so legal and disclaimery. I'm sorry. I think we're ready for. Oh no, we still have a good half inch. But we're getting our sides nice and uniform, good thickness there. We got kind of an interesting decorative rim that will probably cove this a bit, make it look kind of cool. And just got to make a few swoopy passes down to the bottom. Very slow with this dry brittle wood though. All right, now I'm going to try a scraper. Got good there. I got to leave a little mass in the bottom so if someone's actually going to eat at it, if we get it to that point, that it won't go flopping around on anybody. I'm going to get out the big boy scraper here. This is another Hurricane 1.5-inch scraper. I'm a little bit low for center. I do have a nice sharp edge on this from a project from this weekend. And I might want to just take another quick run at it with the diamond card if I need to. Nah, that's in there. All right, let's just see how this thing scrapes. Again, I have it flat on the rest. Handle slightly elevated so we don't get a catch. And we'll just stop and see how that looks. A little rough, but we're getting a nice smooth cut, but we also, in this crossing grain down here, it's pretty interesting. It is not idyllic. Make sure we have a nice. We don't want a dimple on the bottom. We want it nice and flat. I still have a teeny dimple, but it's a teeny little dimple that I hopefully will sand out. And nice uniform wall all the way down to the base. So I will try to give a scrape on this side where the rougher ridges are as the wood flexed. We'll see with a super sharp inside bowl scraper. The one that I use is from Grizzly. And yeah, I'm going to put an edge on this and then we'll come right back. Let's see if this isn't too aggressive for this job here. Like a little slightly elevated handle. And it's obviously not going to leave a finish ready to do anything but sand, but it did smooth out any ridges there. I do have one wee ridge at the bottom here that profile doesn't fit in. So I have another smaller interior bowl scraper, and I think I could probably clean that one ridge out so that when you run your hand over it, it'll feel really nice. Height is good. We want to make sure that our handle's slightly elevated and real light passes here. And that should give us yeah, there we go. Nice. Like it. All right, so what I'll do now is I'll get out a 2-inch sanding disc. I'm going to start at 80 and work my way all the way up. Let me see what yeah, I like that thickness. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I'll start at 80, work my way up to 400, and then I think we might do some fun detail or coving around here. And I'll wait till I actually get to that spot before I make that decision. But I'll go ahead and put you on a time lapse and get to sanding. Okay, well, got it sanded down to 400. There are a lot of little cracks and little defects and stuff, but most of them kind of add some character. They're not particularly like deal killers. Of course, I'd prefer to turn a piece of wood that doesn't have any defects at all, but that's not what we got this time. And it's the only Russian olive piece I have, so we're going to make best with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with some more of our shop grit, and I'm going to really, with the lathe off, really work this into these deep pores. The wood is two different densities, basically. We have this very hard ring and then a very soft wood between those. So even a good bevel riding cut still left some weird stuff that took a long time to sand out, as you saw from that little time lapse you just endured, which I am sure I even took the time lapse and put it on ludicrous speed for you. That seems to be the winning combination when it comes to sanding. But the reality is this bowl was turned with a one bowl gouge and then used out the 80 grit sandpaper pretty much for the rest of the shaping. So I guess what was Mike Peace calls that the 80 grit bowl gouge. So there was a lot of sanding to get some areas smooth where I couldn't sand as the thing was moving, because the difference in densities really just changed it. So to get it perfectly round, it was and smooth to the touch, it was all about the getting out the fingers and just hand sanding. So we'll fill in all of that with the grit, actually, because it's a little harder than the other wax. And I'm actually going to use, instead of my shop shine, I'm going to use Gonzalo de la Cruz's wax. He's got a nice hard wax, a lot more carnauba in it, a little denser, a little less mineral oil, and it does a great job on these soft woods of giving them a nice penetrating protective shine. So I've got it turned up right now to 1,000 RPM, and I'm just going to work our grit, our pumice mineral oil beeswax grit. And what we're doing right now, I can feel it under my fingers, is I am highly polishing the rings, the dense, harder wood, and the soft wood in between is kind of recessing a little bit. So there's going to be a texture that matches the organic nature of the bowl. It'll have that same vibe when you hand over it. It's going to confirm to your brain, your fingers are going to confirm to your brain what your eyes were seeing in terms of the shapes and textures. And I think that's going to be a pretty neat effect, to be honest. But again, I'm not going to lie, not what I was shooting for. I was hoping for a beautiful, smooth, simple, easy breakfast bowl out of a wood that's kind of unusual for me to get my hands on. Well, pretty unusual. It's the second time I've turned it in 32 years. So that I've turned pink ivory more often than I've turned Russian olive. So there we go. Get a little buff on that. It's coming off clean now. So I think we're probably ready for Gonzo's wax. And I don't know how that looks in the camera, but from my angle, I got a pretty shine. You can see a couple of super, super fine 400 grit scratches when the light hits it just right. But the contrasting colors, the way the chatoyancy pops out between the contrasting, like light pinks almost, all the way to these dark browns. I kind of like it. I don't know. What do you think? Hard to tell probably from where you're sitting, huh? From where I'm sitting, I like it. It's definitely not going to be something fancy that only the gallery people see. This is definitely going to be a kind of a utility bowl. But what I have here is it's called Woodturner Gons, and you can pick it up at Mr. Lathes and Knives. I am not affiliated. He's just a friend of mine, and I like his products, so I don't mind recommending it to you. It's a pretty hard wax, and he does make it himself. He has his own blend and his own mix. This is not a super soft paste wax, as you can see. And what I have found so far on these kind of woods is that just like I did with the grit, I'm going to work it around in a little swirl. And I'm actually not going to wipe this one off with the towel at high speed. I'm going to get out a linen buffing mop at the end of my drill after it hardens a little bit. So my shop's right about 58 degrees. It looks like, 58 degrees right now. So it'll probably take 15, 20 minutes for this to harden up. And I'm being pretty liberal with it. It's not, it's not super expensive like a few of the waxes we've all come to know and love out there are. It will go unnamed. His wax is very affordable, and it a lot of carnauba in it, a lot more carnauba than my blend. And it seems to harden it really well in pieces like this. Right, when this is cured up, I'll come back with the linen mop. In the meantime, I'm going to go clean up a little bit here, and we'll be ready to shine this up. Then we'll flip it over and probably put a nice decorative beaded foot on it. I was also thinking that this rim might look cool with a little carved embellishment. I haven't decided, though. What do you think? Should we carve a little something in that rim? Or maybe just put a couple of little detail lines? Or do you think we just leave it like it is and let the wood speak for itself? What do you think? Okay, we gave it about 20 minutes to 30 minutes to dry up. I went out and mowed the lawn. That's what I did. See, I'm productive. Now all I'm going to do is take this nice little linen mop from Harbor Freight that I only use for the waxes and buff it out. Give that wax a chance to really set up. And there you go. That looks pretty good, huh? A nice shine to it. So I think at this point, all we really have left to do is get us a jam chuck and pull off that, pull off this little tenon back here. Very light, nice looking little bowl, but definitely need to jam chuck it, pull that off. Got a couple little swirly swirls in the bottom there. I don't know if I'm thrilled with or not. I'll have to look at that maybe a little later, but we'll get it up. We want to get it on here and just work on putting a nice little beaded foot on there. And for that, I always keep a couple of blocks. You guys have seen this a million times. But I have these big blocks that I hollow out in the middle so they don't mar the bottom. And this is an old redwood fence post. I was making these little like iPhone stands and amplifiers, you know, with a little hole and a funnel in them to kind of to amplify the sound and capture the microphone. I used to call them iPhoniums. And redwood fence posts were the absolute best for them. And they kind of had a cool repurposed look. The wife did a little laser engraving on them and stuff, and they look kind of cool. So all we need is a little towel. We'll use this little towel that has some wax on it already. And grab ourselves the live center for the other end. Ta-da! And we should be ready to go. Since we were smart enough to keep our little nub here from last time, just kind of line it up there, get a little tweak, turn the speed down. We should get a nice concentric, easy spin. So I'm going to take it down to our decorative part there, and then I'll probably roll that under and create the bead on the inside, a little spot for me to sign it, and then we'll put it on the spinner and it should be all good to go. Got a fair amount. So I'm going to go into there with some 80 grit and we'll clean that up real quick on the inside. We'll stop at about 320 because life is short and no one wants to sand all afternoon, right? Ta-da. Looks pretty good. We got some stuff across the middle, but when we sand that part, we'll get that real easy. So we'll make sure we're not having to sand the cove or the bead. And I think I'd like to put a little detail right in there. What do you think? Just kind of really differentiate the bead from the flat bottom. And we could do that with our point tool again. Real easy peasy kind of thing to do. I'm not trying to copy Phil. I like easy peasy. That's a little tight. Come in straight up and down. Boy, going to be a little tight here because of the tailstock. So maybe we'll do the other trick. We'll sharpen up our super narrow parting tool And from there, we can come into the side here and just kind of delineate that and then round it over with the bowl gouge. Give us a nice sharp point, face shield on. We're just going to slightly elevate the tool handle here a little bit and just get down in there. A little foot like that. And we'll take our spindle gouge real close in here and just going to clean up that edge. And then from there, get rid of the tool rest and hit it again with a little bit of 120. Where is my 120? There it is. I'm going to come right around here to keep that detail a little crisp. Yeah, nice little shadow line. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a smaller bowl gouge, my 1/2 inch, and this is my Hurricane by Crown. There is a link down on the bottom if you're inclined to use affiliate links, but I'm not sponsored or anything like that. And all we do is we put our pressure to the headstock, kind of lean in on a little bit, and it stops spinning, turn off the power, and our nub is gone, and it's ready for some sanding off the lathe. Take a look at that real quick so you can see it. Ta-da! So we'll just sand that flat with a little 2-inch pad on the drill, oil it up, sign it, and we'll be ready to close it up. Cool though, huh? Little bottom. So a couple people have asked me how exactly do I sign my bowls, and well, I use this little heat pin. I basically start out and just do my name. Just sign it like that, my name, get my dots on there, and then I'll generally put the year I did it in, so I remember. And then sometimes, when it's going to be a YouTube video, I will put down a little Y and a little T, so I know that this one has a video. And then I will remind people when they come down on my booth and stuff, hey, you can watch your bowl being made on my YouTube channel. Okay, well there it is all finished up. You can see we got some pretty nice grain in there, pretty patterns. You can still see the areas where we had to fix from the ring shake. And all in all, it's a nice little shape, little gloss buff wax finish on it. And I did use Gons the Woodturner's wood wax on that one, and then just took it to the buffing wheel and did the rest. You can feel the texture between each of the rings, the way it's sanded out. It's kind of a cool vibe. I don't know if it'd be a suitable bowl for actually using for breakfast or anything like that, but it's awful pretty, sitting on a desk or a place to throw your keys or whatnot. And the little white bark on each end that we tried to save worked out really nice to give it some kind of character up there on the rim, along with our 3 burn lines. We got 1 under the rim and 2 on the base. So hope you enjoyed today's project, and if you did, I'd sure appreciate a like or a subscribe if you think I earned it. And comments always help. I'd love to hear what you think about the project, what you would have done differently or something. Until next week, man, get out there and turn something.